Well, hi there, everybody. Good morning to meteorologist Travis Kleneski here on your Wednesday morning. A couple of isolated strong storms continue to move to the southeast of the Tri-Cities and away from the area. We'll be clearing up those skies over the next couple of hours, returning to mostly sunny skies by later on. We'll develop a breezy south and southeast wind today, helping to keep temperatures on the warmer side out there. We're probably going to be a degree or two warmer in most spots compared to what we saw yesterday. As we get into tonight, then, there's a very slim chance of an isolated thunderstorm, but more than likely we're going to see dry conditions. Mild night ahead of us, and then tomorrow here comes the warm-up as we see some heat build in for your Thursday. Now there is going to be a frontal boundary in northern Nebraska, and you can see it there as you look up there to the north. We'll see if I can maybe draw a line here real quick. Right there is a warm front that'll be draped across northern Nebraska. Area of low pressure out here in the panhandle of Nebraska. So that warm front's basically draped right there. And so southerly winds bringing in that heat, but that frontal boundary is going to be important for our forecast as we move into tomorrow night, as we could see some thunderstorms develop in northern Nebraska, so some strong storms not out of the question. Now as we get towards Friday morning here, here's our frontal boundary. Hang on, I'm going to draw that again. Let's see if I can or not. I don't know if it's going to let me draw it. Let me go back here real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to improvise here. I apologize for this here. I do want to draw these fronts, and I get just to show you. Now, as we get towards Friday morning, that front's closer to I-80 here, so it's going to be a little farther south. But then during the day tomorrow, it's actually going to drift back to the north a little bit here. So by the end of the day, it's sitting back in northern portions of Nebraska. That's our warm front. Our cold front, our cold front's going to be out here in western Nebraska. Area of low pressure out here, again in the panhandle. We're actually going to have a dry line right about here. And there's going to be a cold front farther to the west here. But late in the day, showers and thunderstorms are expected to fire up, especially close to that frontal boundary, but also back to the west possibly as well here. And anything that fires up, we're going to have to watch very closely. We're going to be in a very unstable environment. There's going to be a lot of shear in the atmosphere. And so that means there's going to be twist, turning in the atmosphere, rotation. And so severe thunderstorms are going to be likely. And if these can stay a little more isolated, which I actually think they're going to be a little bit more isolated than what you're seeing on this map right here, severe weather is going to be a big threat late in the day Friday into Friday night here. So I'd say anytime after 4 o'clock Friday and through Friday evening, we're going to have to watch that severe weather threat closely here. Now I'm going to take us very slowly through time here. Again, severe weather, especially north and west of the Tri-Cities, will continue to be fairly likely in those areas here. So again, I drew that front. I do want to kind of redraw it here. So hang tight real quick here. See if it's not going to let me do it here. Yeah, so it only allows me to do this stuff when it stops here. So I'm going to stop that here, and we'll run back through. So I'm not going to redraw it this time, but you can still kind of see where it is. And I'll point out about 9 o'clock, that's kind of where the biggest threat starts to come to an end here. But you can see that low pressure sitting over northeast Colorado. So north or east of that, where that warm front is, and then south of that, we're watching that severe weather threat here. And again, all modes of severe weather are possible. Now, later into the night, the severe weather threat does start to go down, continuing into early on Saturday morning here. And this is as far out as my forecast model goes here. So the severe weather threat should drop off a little bit late night, although I'm not going to completely rule something out even after midnight, Friday night into Saturday morning. So let's talk about the severe weather threats the next couple of days. Now, the Storm Prediction Center already has highlighted northern half of Nebraska for a marginal threat of severe weather tomorrow. Late day tomorrow to tomorrow night, I think mostly for hail. I think that's your biggest threat. But watch Friday here. The Storm Prediction Center, their day 3 outlook, pretty much all of us under a slight risk of severe weather at least. And then you see a targeted area for enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms from the Tri-Cities north and westward. And again, I'm going to draw here an area. I'm going to kind of circle an area I would be most concerned about Friday afternoon and Friday evening. And that would be this area right here for your biggest threat. That's where we're looking at the biggest threat of large hail and tornadoes. And if these storms can stay very isolated, they kind of better feed into that moisture than a lot of thunderstorm activity can. And so very isolated thunderstorms, which I think could happen, we're talking about the potential for some strong thunderstorm activity. So especially those areas here, but even the Tri-Cities towards the evening hours, we're going to have to watch very closely. Again, here are the threats. Again, very large hail, and then there's also that tornado threat. Perhaps some strong tornadoes are possible. Wind gusts may be a threat as well here. Of course, as with any thunderstorm activity, usually wind gusts are at least a possibility out there as well. So I'm not saying outbreak situation, but there is the possibility for that. I don't think we're going to see thunderstorms all over the place producing severe weather, but any thunderstorms that do fire up, even on an isolated basis, could easily become severe. So we're going to have to watch that time frame very, very closely. As we look at your high temperature forecast, these next 3 days quite warm and summer-like. Today, mid and upper 80s, possibly near 90 in a couple of locations. A mild night ahead of us in the 50s and 60s. Tomorrow, that's the hottest day of the forecast. Many of us into the lower 90s, and you see up north there just slightly cooler. That's where that frontal boundary will be, so we could see some of those isolated storms up north. But then watch Friday, that frontal boundary much more pronounced. 80 south of it, maybe near 90 in spots, but then cooler 60s and 70s north of it. And again, that frontal boundary is one trigger point for severe thunderstorms. The other will be the dry line, which again will be out here somewhere in western Nebraska is going to be the other point. So we're kind of looking at these locations here along that warm front to the north and then along that dry line to the southwest. There would be the two areas I'd be watching very, very closely for the threat of severe thunderstorms late in the day. Beyond the 3-day forecast here, when we start to see some big changes, cooler air is going to start to work in with our transition to cooler air being on Saturday. Still good chance of rain and thunderstorms Saturday into Saturday evening. Severe weather threat doesn't look nearly as high. If we see severe weather, southeast Nebraska would be our best bet. And even then, that's not a guarantee, as some models hinted at being even farther southeast of there. So I'm not really banking on much severe weather around the Tri-Cities. Much cooler Sunday, still a decent chance of rain in the morning, small chance in the afternoon. We should stay dry Sunday night. But then back into Monday, a chance of rain returns. Monday night into Tuesday, rain and isolated thunderstorms return to the area. But temperatures staying on the cooler side, low to mid 60s, and I would not be surprised if we're seeing highs in the 50s, and off to the northwest, maybe highs only in the 40s. And this is going to be kind of a bit of a reminder of what we saw last week for some. No snow in the forecast, anything like that, but those lows, especially Monday morning, would not be surprised if we briefly dip back into the upper 30s here in the Tri-Cities. It's more likely we'd see 30s off to the northwest here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking maybe some frost potential in the far northwest parts of the viewing area. So again, you see it here in that 10-day forecast. A lot of heat the next few days, then the big drop in temperatures back below average. And long-range forecast models continue to hint at more stormy weather and temperatures kind of at or below average, even into the long range as we approach Memorial Day weekend down the road here towards the very end of that 10-day forecast here. We could be looking at more cool and wet weather. So with that, I'm going to let you all go. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, and you're watching on the website, go over to my Facebook page, go to Twitter, ask me questions. Otherwise, hopefully I kind of helped you out with that at least a little bit. Again, I apologize for the confusion with drawing fronts and things like that. But again, you saw where the biggest threat is. Again, Friday is going to be the big threat day. Anytime mid to late afternoon and at least the early, if not at least into the mid-evening hours, we're going to be watching that severe weather threat very, very closely. Tim will be working Friday. Kit will be working Friday evening. I will be likely working Friday evening as well. So we're probably going to have a full team coverage on this event as we look towards Friday afternoon and Friday evening. So if you have plans, make sure you have your way of getting severe weather warnings to you Friday into Friday evening. Phone apps are a good thing. Of course, if you're outdoors, you have the siren situation that can help you out. The NOAA all hazards weather alerts, those are a good thing to have. Friday, pay attention to the weather because, again, any storms that do develop over your area have a chance to produce tornadoes on Friday, as well as big-time hail. That's another big threat as well here. So watch that forecast. We'll continue to update as we approach Friday. Thank you all for watching today. I'll see you all again tomorrow morning. Take care. God bless. Bye.